on, Jen.
Hi, my name is Nathan Moreno, and I attend Salters Grammar School. Some people in the U.S. have legalized marijuana. What do you think about that?
That's a good question. It's an interesting question. I believe that, now this is a personal opinion of me, and Ms. Hunter may have a different opinion, but I think we've reached a time in society where marijuana legalization, or at least decriminalization, is at the forefront of sort of political agendas. And you may see more movement from governments around the world on how they deal with the marijuana issue. All I can say is that at this current time in Bermuda, it still remains legal, and so our illicit drug policy and our illicit drug program fall in line with that. If it was ever legalized in Bermuda, it may not make that much of a difference. It may be a bit like the alcohol issue, whereby alcohol is legal in Bermuda, but many companies don't allow you to go into work having used alcohol. So we would have to watch that space and see, but it's very interesting. You, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Sheikh Kaizu. I attend Lincoln Institute. Did you have any experience with drugs? And is that what made you come into the anti-doping?
I think as a young Bermudian growing up, I think many of us have experiences with drugs and come across it at times. I think what really made me get into the work that I'm doing is just that I'm a passionate Bermudian. I'm passionate about sport. I was fortunate enough to go away to school and further my education, and it came for the time for me to move back home, and I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to get into sport. I actually got a master's in sports studies, and so on arrival back on the island, I put out my resume, and I ended up working with the Bermuda Cricket Board on a temporary basis for 6 months, and then I was fortunate enough to be offered a full-time position with BSADA, and I've been here now for 3 years. So I think what's really got me into this, my current role, is just my passion for sport and trying to move sport as a whole forward in Bermuda.
Can I just want to address your question? I used to run track for Bermuda a number of years ago, and presently I still hold the Bermuda records in the 200 and 400 meters. And to your question about have you come in contact with other athletes with the drug scene, yes, I have. Running back in the college days, it was always thought, never proven, but always thought that there were certain athletes that were doing, giving themselves drugs that they should have not. In other words, to increase their performance. And as an ex-Olympian, I, just like with marijuana, do not believe that drugs should be in sport at all, completely not. And so my passion is to make sure that athletes just like you, myself back then, who always worked hard without the help of any drugs, perform to their best. And it's always an even playing field. So when you talk about doping, it always has to come from your heart. And when you compete, it always has to come from your heart. What you put in is what you get out of the sport. So my answer to you is yes, we all may at some point in time come in contact with someone who is doing drugs in sport, but you as a friend, as an athlete, a team player, should always remind them that this is not the thing to do. Okay? Thanks.
Well said, Mrs. Hunt. Gentleman in the back row from here.
Afternoon. My name is Josiah Johnson. I'm going to attend Whitney Institute. How does marijuana help those with medical situations?
I'm not sure I can answer that question. You know, some of the properties within marijuana can be a hindrance, and then there's an argument that it might be able to help people with certain illnesses. I'm not a doctor, I don't know that. I just know that within our rules, it's prohibited. It's used as sort of possibly a relaxer. And so in terms of football, it's probably more of a performance decreaser than an enhancer. And I think as budding athletes and budding footballers, you don't really want to be taking a drug that might lower your playing standard.
Could I extend on that?
Sure.
What's as far as the education of anti-doping, going back to this question, so to rephrase it just a little bit, how does it affect your teaching? For instance, if somebody's on medical marijuana, how does that kind of affect your teaching when you're trying to do anti-doping? Is that a greater effect? Is somebody saying that there's no know-how, they're using it, so why should we be, so I was just trying to get the, how does it help your education? Does it hinder the education of learning when you're teaching young people when they come up with a question like this? Some people, just trying to.
I think it does to an extent in that, like the earlier question with its potential legalization, decriminalization, right now, WADA are actually looking at increasing the threshold limit for marijuana. And to simplify what they're doing, they're looking at it in terms of that. If you remember my slide that showed the sort of substances banned out of competition and in competition, marijuana is the one that's only banned in competition. And so WADA basically increases threshold to the point where if somebody is tested in competition and they are found positive, it has to meet a threshold that basically leaves no shadow of a doubt that that individual has basically just used it, that they're within a 10-hour span, basically. And one of the reasons for that is because the marijuana issue has been discussed over and over. Throughout the 3.5 years I've been involved in anti-doping, it's always a hot topic, and it goes back to what I kind of said in that sort of theory or maybe conjecture at this point in time, whereby for certain sports, marijuana is more of a performance decreaser than a performance enhancer. And it's maybe, when it comes to the aspect of role modeling and things like that, as long as it's an illegal drug, WADA want it on a prohibited list, but they're treating it with a bit more liberty than in the past. I'm going to go with you, sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Takai. I attend Sands Middle School. How does steroids and energy drinks affect the way players play?
Well, steroids generally are the drugs that make you go bigger, faster, and stronger. So there's definitely performance-enhancing capabilities with them. But as I said, the flip side is the health risks with that. Females getting facial hair and masculine features. And what was the other one? Steroids, energy drinks. Energy drinks are another kind of gray area, to be honest. But it goes back to the similar sort of supplement stance when I gave you the protein drink example, protein powers. Energy drinks, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of speculation that some of them have performance-enhancing prohibited substances in them. At this current time, I'm not sure of any that we can 100% say, don't take this, it has this in it. But there's some stuff. So again, I would just say, be vigilant when it comes to choosing energy drinks. And I was actually chatting to somebody the other day, and they made an interesting point I never thought about. It's probably a good marketing ploy for Gatorade, but whenever you see sport on TV, it's almost always Gatorade. And I think people are sure now that it's like, well, here's an energy drink that we've used for years and years, and we've never had a problem with. I thought that was an interesting thing. I'm not getting any permission from Gatorade.
I would definitely say this with relation to energy drinks. My son plays soccer, football. I say soccer because my son goes to DePaul University, he's on a soccer scholarship. I do not, as a mother, want my son to use energy drinks. And let's be very honest about energy drinks. Energy drinks are used for other things than just drinking Red Bull for practice, correct?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. People mix energy drinks with alcohol, right?
Yes.
You've all heard of it. And if you read some articles that have been on the news, young men have passed, have died from doing that. And so my personal opinion on energy drinks is, you know, I would prefer if you don't take them. If you choose to take them, as Mr. Barkley said, then you must read up on them, because you have to be responsible for yourself. Can you say that? Responsible for, exactly. Okay?